Hello there, welcome back to the channel. This is Daxplore, where we cover everything related to theme parks and attractions across the world that are here with us today and that have gone from us. And in this video, as you've probably already gathered, we are going to be doing just that. We're going to cover one of the most haunting silhouettes on the English coastline, that is the West Pier of Brighton. Before we get into the video, once again, if you have not subscribed to our channel, then why not just click that subscription button? It's free of charge, and also press that notification bell to not miss any updates on the channel. But for now, as always, welcome back if you've been here before. Chill out, relax, and let's get into the video. It really is one of the most haunting silhouettes on the English coastline. Located in Brighton, the West Pier is a symbol of Victorian Britain. Today we're going to cover how it was built, how it dazzled a nation, and why it burned down. To really understand the vision for the West Pier, we are going to have to go all the way back to the 19th century, where Brighton was a booming seaside town. The railway had transformed it from a small fishing town into a fashionable seaside escape for London's growing middle class.
And what do your tired eyes see? Beauty, beauty, and the whole world flat out for pleasure. Mum and Dad sitting it out while the kids get sunburnt and want to go home. That's the old story.
Day trippers arrived in their thousands, hotels multiplied, and bathing machines lined the shore. But Victorian entrepreneurs wanted more than just the sea air. They wanted a spectacle. Enter Eugenius Birch, one of Britain's great pier engineers. Birch believed piers should not simply stretch into the sea, they should float above it, light, elegant, and decorative. In 1863, construction began on what would become Brighton's West Pier. Building a pleasure pier in the 1860s was no simple task. Unlike solid stone harbours, the West Pier was supported by cast iron screw piles, long iron columns literally twisted deep into the seabed, and this innovative method, pioneered by Birch, allowed the structure to withstand tides while appearing almost delicate from the shore. Over 1,000 feet long, the pier projected confidently into the English Channel. It cost around £27,000 at the time. That's the equivalent of millions of pounds in today's money. At the entrance, there stood ornate toll booths where you could buy your tickets to enter the pier, and further along, visitors would then encounter decorative bandstands, colonnades with intricate ironwork, a large concert hall added later in 1916, tea rooms, and promenades. It wasn't industrial, it was theatrical. When it opened in 1866, the West Pier wasn't just an infrastructure, it was architecture as entertainment. At its height, the West Pier was the social heart of Britain. Victorians would stroll in formal attire while orchestras performed beneath domed pavilions. And in the early 20th century, the pier absolutely evolved. Electric lighting replaced the gas lamps, a theatre was also added, and later came amusement rides and fairground attractions. It survived 2 entire world wars, and during World War II, sections were deliberately removed to prevent enemy landings. After the war, they were repaired. But something had shifted. By the 1950s and 60s, British holiday habits were changing. Cheap flights became available to Mediterranean beaches, made the English seaside seem unpredictable and unfashionable, and attendance unfortunately declined. Maintenance costs rose also, and saltwater corrosion is relentless. The iron rusts, timber rots, and constant repair was absolutely essential and also very expensive to maintain. Ownership changed hands multiple times, investment slowed, and the glamour faded. In 1975, the concert hall unfortunately closed, and by 1984, the pier had shut entirely to the public. The storm damage worsened structural weakness. Parts of the decking were removed for safety, and for nearly 2 decades it stood unused. There were restoration campaigns, the West Pier Trust formed to save it, and lottery funding was also discussed. And architects proposed bold redesigns, blending the old with the new.
Restoration, it was going to cost twice as much as that. We had to get matching funding, then, which was quite a tall order, which took some years to secure that and to get private sector partners who are sort of suitable. Finally, we were there. There were lots of obstacles and planning, and permissions and things to get in place, but we were sort of really close to starting restoration. All the obstacles have been cleared, and then of course there were the arson attacks of 2003.
On the 28th of March 2003, flames broke out on the pier. Fire crews faced an impossible challenge. The pier was nearly 400 meters offshore, and there was no functioning water supply on the structure. Access was limited. The fire destroyed much of the pavilion at the seaward end. Investigators suspect arson, but the worst was yet to come. On May the 11th, 2003, just weeks later, a second, far more devastating fire erupted. This time, flames consumed the historic concert hall, and witnesses described the structure glowing against the night sky, collapsing inward as the roof gave away. Because of safety risks and structural instability, firefighters could do little but contain the blaze from boats. And by the morning, the heart of the pier was gone. The grand Victorian hall, that once echoed with orchestras, had fallen into the sea, and to this day, no one has been convicted for the fires. What survived storms, war, and even economic decline was ultimately undone in a matter of hours. After the fires, engineers assessed the damage. The structure was severely weakened. Rebuilding it would require removing unstable ironwork, replacing piles deep in the seabed, meeting modern safety standards, and securing tens of millions of pounds in funding. Insurance disputes complicated matters even further, and meanwhile, Brighton already had a functioning pier, the Brighton Palace Pier, and investors were hesitant to fund a second major attraction. Gradually, the vision of restoration faded.
They decided after that they had to withdraw the funding. That was the lottery fund.
Storms in 2014 caused further collapses, leaving the skeletal frame we see to this day. Ironically, the ruin became famous in its own right. Photographers captured its silhouette at sunset. It appeared in films, art, and even postcards. Where once there were lights and laughter, there is now atmosphere and reflection. The West Pier transformed from a place of noise to a place of memory. It stands as a monument to Victorian ambition, the fragility of coastal architecture, and the changing nature of tourism. And Brighton's skyline would look incomplete without it. Even in ruin, it defines the seafront. The West Pier was never just wood and iron. It represented an era when Britain built boldly into the sea, and when leisure itself became architecture. Its destruction wasn't caused by one single moment. It was a result of decades of decline, vulnerability, and finally, a huge explosion of fire. And today, its skeletal frame reminds us that heritage isn't permanent. Landmarks survive only if they are maintained, protected, and valued. And sometimes, what remains can be just as powerful as what we have lost. If you have enjoyed this short documentary on the West Pier, then make sure to subscribe for more stories of similar nature and everything else theme park and attraction related. Next time you're in Brighton, look out toward the water. That silhouette isn't just a ruin, it's a story written in iron and ash. And I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, thank you very much for watching, take care, and goodbye for now.